Example of a case which the Honorable Paul Mute I was involved in the case myself. During the time of President Uhuru had a lot of problem with the Teacher Service Commission. I mean, they were a headache. And I thought, the best way to solve the problem was through the courts. So it went to one court, went to another court, went to the Supreme Court. And the end result was that the courts, killed teachers' nut and, empowered the Teacher Service Commission. And at one stage, we come to know that, the Office of the President facilitated one of the judgments. A lot of money was given to the courts, and everybody knew that, and I tell guys that the uniqueness of the Uhuru administration, unlike the Moi administration or the Kibaki administration and even the Ruto administration, is that that is one administration where a conscious decision will be made to bribe judges, yes, on very sensitive matters like this one between the Teacher Service Commission and the Kenya Union of Teachers. Not so. We have seen the government as an active player, in corruption. But corruption is, lawyers are involved. I will not deny. We know who does it. It is, you will see. I tell guys when Willie was a lawyer, senior counsel, we used to get a lot of referrals. Clients will insist that they need a senior counsel in their brief because they want. Nowadays, you will see someone who is 1 year in practice, pushing the biggest case in town for that month, and they don't need a senior counsel. They don't need a good lawyer because the judge will help them out. The judiciary is a self-contained institution. It was the architecture of our constitution was in a such manner that nobody can interfere with it, and it's a good architecture. But the current situation is that that architecture is broken down. The JEC doesn't work. The Chief Justice has no idea about what the problems facing the judiciary are. If you go to the Honorable Chief Justice Koome today and ask her what are the problems, she will tell you there are no problems because she's oblivious to what's happening in the judiciary. She is oblivious to the corruption in all the courts, whether it is the Supreme Court, whether it's the Court of Appeal, and I always say to a lesser extent the Court of Appeal than all other courts in the country. But when you have a Chief Justice that is oblivious, that has no idea about what's happening in the judiciary, how can an important institution, like the judiciary work? The JSC during her tenure has completely failed. I personally, I've lodged so many complaints. They will write you a letter and say that your petition has been dismissed because you are challenging the decision of a court. If the disciplinary mechanism of the judiciary has failed, what signal does it send to the judges that there is complete immunity, that nobody will touch them? When you don't have a disciplinary process and procedure that works, the system will collapse. And that's what happened in this country. I tell guys, I've practiced law for 30 years. I have never seen the state of corruption in the judiciary now than any of my 31 years. Even during Moi's time, it wasn't this bad. And why? Because the Chief Justice, have you ever seen the Chief Justice talk about corruption? No. Have you ever seen the Chief Justice talk about the number of years it takes for a simple case to be had? No. Cases are taking 5, 10 years. We think it's a problem of judges. We employed so many judges. We employed 30 judges of the Court of Appeal. The High Court has now about 200, 250 judges. It doesn't help. Why? Because the system isn't working for Kenyans.